Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk about the SUMIF formula in Excel. Now, if you have used Excel for a while, you haven't used SUMIF because you don't know about it, or you find it confusing, you're really missing out, because for cases like this, in which you have a list of items in which the same item is repeated multiple times. For example, I've got purple here and here, and I just want to add up all the purples and all the greens, and I've just color coded them so that they're easy to look at. You don't have to do that. It could be anything. It could be stock purchases, it could be sales by the same people over and over again, but you're maintaining a running list and you just want the total by individual items. So how do you do it? Well, let's just jump straight into it. We've got purple, red, green, and blue here. So I'm just going to set up a totals area, if you will, over here. It can be in any order. It doesn't have to be in a specific order. Blue and green, and then we will just use the magic of the magic of the SUMIF formula. So let's just jump straight in, and I say equal to SUMIF, and it has three parameters. The first one is the range against which this purple here is going to be checked. And that range obviously is over here. So just go ahead and select this range. I'm going to make this an absolute reference. So I will do F4 on this. If you're on a Mac, as I am, you have to press the FN key and then go F4, and that makes it absolute. Then what is to be checked against this list, of course, is this value over here. That can be relative. That's fine. So you leave it alone. And finally, what is to be summed? And that is this list over here. So you don't have to reselect this. For the final parameter, just select this as a new, as a single column. And again, make it an absolute reference. So we'll just F4 it here, close it up, and we've got all the purples added up. So you've got purple 10 here, and 10 here, and 10 here. And of course, because we used absolute addressing, we can just copy paste this down and it all just works out. So for the reds, for example, I've got 26. And if I make this 200, the red, as you can see, instantly changes. So that's really all there is to it. It's a very nice aggregate formula. Now, there are a few gotchas here. Supposing you have this running list and you want to keep adding to this list. So for example, if I add one more red to it, and it is a value of 10,000, just to make it easy to read, obviously this will not change because it is an absolute formula. And as you can see, and the way to do that, of course, would be to extend the range like this, and then it'll work. So if I just go here and extend the range here, and if I extend the range here, then it will work. But you don't want to keep doing that every time there's a change, if you add items. So one of the things that people will always do, and I used to do it as well, is you just take this range and you extend it all the way down so you have blank spaces to add things into it. But that's really not a good solution, because sooner or later you'll run out of space, or you'll forget to extend the range and you'll get wrong answers. There's actually a much neater solution for this, and that is to use tables. So let's just replace all of this with tables now. And I'll show you how to do it. And some of it works very well with named tables. So let's just do that. And to do that, I'm just going to give this thing headings first. So I'm going to call this the name column. Oops. Name column. I think we've got the font set to, yeah, white for some reason. And we're going to call this the value column. And again, let me just quickly, yep, there we go. Now, click anywhere inside of this, go to the Insert tab, and select Table. It says My Table has headers, which is fine. And now you have a table, right? You get the drop downs and you can do sorting and searching, but also this table has a name. It's called Table 1 by default. If you're in the Table tab here, then the name appears here, but we can do better. I'm going to call it Colors. Let's just call it COLORS, Colors, with a capital C. And now the table is called Colors. So if I step out, if I step back in, you can see that the name is now Colors right here. Okay. Now, what this lets us do is, let's go back to our formulas. I'll still be using SUMIF, but this will make it a lot simpler, because now I can do SUMIF. And instead of selecting a range, I'll just say COLORS, which is the name of the table that we just used. Then use the square bracket to select one of the columns. All right, this is very, very handy. And the first column is the name. That's the one which is our reference column for the range. And so I'll just say name, and then comma, and then this one for comparison as usual as before, and then comma, and then again, this time I will use the table name, colors, and square bracket, and value this time, because that is the column on which I want to add it up, and it gets selected, as you can see right here. And I close it off, and it's it works as you would expect. Now I just copy paste it down as well. So far it looks exactly like what we did before, but here's the magic. Now if I come in here and I add one, notice that the green value right now is 381. So if I add one more green at the bottom, and if I add a value of 1000 to it, notice what happens. Automatically it changes, right? So that's pretty neat. And I can keep doing that. So I just, as long as it's in the adjacent one, I add one to here. Just make this red equal to 1. And if I can have blue, you get the idea. So you can keep on extending the list. There's no limits to how far you can go, and the totals will always. So this is extremely handy, right? So rather than using absolute references, we are now using named references from a table, from a named table. And so this is your running list. You just keep on adding to it, and the references will always work out. You would always get the correct totals. So that's how to use SUMIF with a named table. By the way, SUMIF has a very quickly, as a final sort of touch, also has a cousin, if you will, called COUNTIF. So we'll just quickly do that. It's not very hard. It counts the number of instances of a value rather than summing from an adjacent or a corresponding column. So in this case, I'll just give it the range. Again, we'll use the table name colors, square bracket, and we'll call it name. And what are we comparing it against is this, close the bracket, and 3, and I just copy this down. And this is now counting the instances, right? So purple is 3 because there are 1, 2, 3 instances of purple. Red is 5 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, these are really greens. I just didn't fix the colors. So there are 5 instances and so on. So this is counts. So this is counts, and this is sums. And there you have it. A nice and easy way of using aggregate functions to total and count items in a list, keeping them in a table so that they're always consistent. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.